I run this Dr. Katherine.Kelly, and for Soul Wisdom Wednesday, I'm going to bring you a different kind of message than I've done for about the last year. Prior to about this time last year, I had been doing my videos and really kind of sharing in the moment what was going on and some things that I was seeing, or themes even that I was seeing going on with clients or the universe, and things that I thought were important to share. Now, I've still been doing that, but I've been doing that through writing. And I took a pause, and this is really the whole point of this video with the Soul Wisdom Wednesday, is knowing when to step back. I think many of us just keep going forward, keep going forward, keep going forward without really evaluating where we are, what we're doing. Are we getting where we're supposed to be? Are we doing what's going to fulfill us? Or, all of those questions, because the human condition keeps us pushing forward no matter what. It keeps us kind of hopping. It's like a Australian shepherd that nips at your heels. I had an Aussie, so I know what they're like, kind of just to keep you going. And it's that whole idea of, when do we step back? When do we keep doing the human condition? But when do we step back to take a look? When do we step back to take that really fine and hard and clear look at who we are, what we're doing, and where we need to go? Now, for many of you, you probably remember that about this time last night, I was processing a lot. I did not ask the universe to create that for me. I did not want to do that. But all of last year, there was just so much processing. Now, some of it had to do with publishing The Healer's Path. Some of it had to do with some other personal things that were going on. But it was one of those times where everything culminated for me to a point where it came to a head where it just like, whoa, okay, there is so much processing right now. And I know myself well enough that I am a terrible crier. I'm an ugly crier. I don't cry well. And I had done a few videos and I got tearful, and it was really hard to kind of figure out how to get through those videos. And so I just decided that I would start writing my Soul Wisdom Wednesday posts. So I knew when to step back. For those of you who also remember, you also know that when I had an astrology report done for me, my astrology report was like what I called a spider who spun a web on speed. I mean, if you looked at that chart, I was everywhere. It was just processing everything. And even the astrologer said, "Oh my God, you are looking at every aspect of your life right now." And I said, "Yes, I am. That's why I'm having this session, because I just wanted something to ground me." And in the process of knowing that I needed to take that step back, I kept doing what I was doing. I was seeing clients. I was doing my own kind of human condition stuff. But I also knew I had to take a very hard look at where I was, what I was doing, what was working, what wasn't working. And I needed to pull back. I needed to kind of go within. Now, this isn't the same as a cocoon. I did have a time, probably 2 years ago, that I just kind of went into a cocoon, and I just really needed that time. Now, everybody goes through that time too, that cocooning time where you do have to go in. I wasn't really going within, I was just pulling back. And so it's that whole idea of using your own wisdom, using your own truth to know, when do I pull back? When do I keep doing what I'm doing, but I use a different focus, or I do use a different lens for how I'm looking at life. Now, those of you who also remember, if you follow my work, you know that, July, I was processing and evaluating every single aspect of my life. And then it was partly processing what was going to happen on the trip that I took in September to raft the Grand Canyon, because that became my focal point of basically knowing, okay, that was going to be a rebirth process. And, I love the Grand Canyon. It is my favorite place in the United States to visit. It's very sacred, very powerful for me, very metaphoric for me. And so being able to actually raft it and be at the bottom of it rather than the top of it was really a wonderful gift and a really powerful experience for so many reasons. And I know a lot of you followed me through all of that, and you understood, wow, okay, she's really going through a lot, processing death, processing life, processing what I wanted, what I didn't want. The reason I'm saying all that is there's so many different ways to step back but still do your work. And in doing these videos, I'm going to probably be doing more videos now, because I feel like, okay, I'm not as unraveled or scrambled as I had been. In fact, I'm feeling pretty good. But But I wanted to start giving you some other things to think about, because that whole idea of stepping back, that whole idea of going within and really evaluating is such an important part of our soul's journey. Now, again, when I talk about the soul, it's not a religious thing. I look at it from the essence of who we are. And the essence of who we are deep down knows if we are on track or if we're not. And there's times when we fake it. There are times when we have to kind of make it look good, and we know that we're struggling or wrestling with whatever, but we still have to kind of put on that mask or face. But at the same time, it's very important not to mask ourselves from us. And so, as many of you know, I've done a ton of transformative work over the last year. I just shake my head at it when I really think back, because really, between publishing the book in February, going through a whole lot of interviews again, hitting that situation or that whole experience in July, where I was really processing all of this, going into the Grand Canyon trip, went away for the holidays. Then I did my Kauai trip, which was again a whole different form of processing. These all sound like wonderful, fluffy, expensive, luxurious trips. These are all trips basically that I was doing a ton of soul work, a ton of my own transformational work to collect parts of myself or get very clear on who I was through each one of those days and each one of those moments. Boy, that river, when I was on that river, was basically 8 intense full days of just being very, very present with yourself, which was wonderful. And then my Ireland trip that I just got back from, staying very present, staying very aware of the fact that each and every time that I went to one of the sacred sites in Ireland, it was about recollecting or retrieving a part of myself and remembering parts of who I was in other lives, and really who I am in this life and what I need to be doing. So the reason I am bringing this topic up is to really nudge and urge you from a soul evolution perspective, as well as from a healing perspective, to know when to take that step back, know when you need to kind of do some of your work, own up to the fact that you need to do work. All of us are here on this planet, and that means all of us have work to do. And so someone who says they don't have work to do, well, those are the ones I get the most concerned about. This is a time, though, we are going through a huge existential and transformational universal time. And there's so much unrest, there's so much discomfort, there's so much discourse. And all of that is to stir us. It's like rototilling the ground. It's bringing up the stuff that we either are ignoring, that's underneath the surface, or things that basically we didn't know were there. And so it can very much look like we are going backwards. And, in some ways, it might literally look like we are, but we have to keep that idea of this is all divinely created. This is all created for us to take a look at our dark sides, take a look at the stuff that does not look and feel and taste very good, and figure out what we want to do with it, regardless of what it looks like in the outside world. So everything, you do have to look at this as a hologram. You have to look at this as everything that is triggering us, everything that is making us uncomfortable is there to show us something about ourselves so that we can evolve and move beyond it. And so that's why I call it a hologram. Anything, anyone who comes into our existence is really there to help us learn and evolve. However, sometimes we still have to take that step back. Now, I launched my brand new website the day before I left for Ireland. Now, that probably is not a great idea, except for the fact that I have a really good assistant who can take care of everything behind the scenes when I'm not here. But really, that website, if you have not looked at it and you want to kind of take a look at how the transformation has taken place, go to www.Dr.KatherineT.Kelly.com. And you're going to see, I'm different. I'm different. My assistant said, wow, you have really changed. You've really grown over the last few years. And it's just been really fun to hear all of the affirmation, and hear also the fact that there are so many providers out there who want to learn what I do. They want to start to encompass and bring in and include and integrate a lot of the things I do. And so that has been very, very affirming, as also part of my transformation process. But I'm still taking a step back to make sure that even when I provide these certifications that I've talked about, that are going to be helping healthcare providers or other providers, not just healthcare providers, but holistic practitioners, coaches, administrators, educators understand the soul side of what I do, and which to me is the more important part to some extent. It as I step out to do that, I had to change. I had to grow. I had to step back. I had to really look at what I needed to do to change in order to get there. So, as part of my evolution, I had to pull back so I could move forward. And that is such a key part to remember, that a lot of times we look like we're falling away from ourselves or who we are, or while we're kind of shrinking into a different us. But a lot of times it's because it's like that incubation time. It's that time when we have to go within in order to grow beyond where we were. So that stepping back is part of the evolutionary process. And if there's anything I can encourage, is to start looking at the world from a 3D view. And what I mean by that is conscious evolution is all about being able to look at yourself, kind of view what's happening around you, how you're responding, how you're reacting, and look at you yourself through those conscious eyes to see where you are, where you've been, and where you're going. So this whole stepping back process is such an important part of our evolution. And I'm kind of laughing about it because it actually feels good to be at that place where I'm really stepping forward. Putting out that new website was a little bit of a coming out party, meaning there's a whole lot of new information on that website that traditional practitioners probably would not understand, but I still had to do it in order to get where I know I need to be and help other practitioners and educators and coaches get where they need to be. So I just want to emphasize that sometimes we think we're going backwards by kind of pulling in, but that it's really part of the evolutionary process. So your wisdom, using your wisdom to know when you have to pull back and when to step forward, is so important. And I cannot even begin to emphasize how much it is, how important it is to just listen to that voice within. So anyway, I guess this is my jumping back into the world and jumping back into other layers and levels of myself so I can help you find the other layers and levels of yourself as well. So have a wonderful day. I want you to just spend that time thinking about, do you need to pull it back so that you can create the new, new and improved or newly enhanced part of you for future. So have a wonderful day. I'll talk soon. Bye-bye.